Welcome to this episode of Estate Agency X. Today, I'm talking to Laura Howey. Laura runs an estate agency in York, North Yorkshire, that kind of way, called Love Property. It's a really interesting episode because I first bumped into Laura some 8 years ago, something like that, and she was sitting in her estate agency at the time thinking, I've had enough of this. I've been going for 8 years, 10 years, something like that, and it's just not really going the way that I wanted it to go. I don't really know what to do next. Now, Laura goes on 4 holidays a year. She's got a team that do all of the things that she doesn't want to do. It runs like clockwork. She charges the fees that she wants. It's like a machine. So I want to go on the journey with her and find out some of the milestones that really led her from that dark place to where she is today. Okay, Laura.
Yes.
Thanks for coming in. What I wanted to try to dig into today is your kind of journey from when we first met, and maybe even before that, I don't know where we go with it, to where it is today, because I've known you for quite a few years now.
Yeah, it's quite a while.
I guess, when would you say we met? Maybe about 2017, something like that?
Yeah, something like
Around
that.
there.
Yeah, I was
Maybe
trying
16,
to. Yeah, I was trying to
18,
figure out when it was. Yeah.
From outside, the journey that I've seen you go on as a business owner and just as a person is just looks kind of transformational to me.
Yeah.
So I want to try and dig into some of the, looking back from your point of view, some of the things that were milestones.
Yeah.
For other people out there that maybe can take some inspiration from it as we go through it, they might find that, you know, they can relate with some of that stuff. So to begin with, let's think about where you were when we first met. I think we sat and had a conversation. You had a business partner at the time.
Yeah.
And if I remember rightly, the conversation went something along the lines of the fact that been doing this 10 years and you're fucking sick to death of it. Like, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
What do we do?
Yeah.
So just try to remind me and anyone listening of how you were feeling at that point in time.
Yeah, I think we had been running for a while. When we started the business, there was no long-term view with it. I think it was just like, actually, if we could do something we like doing and earn some money from it, then great. Opened in the 2008 recession, just before we actually started in 2009. It was really, really tough. And I think there it was just a matter of survival. So it wasn't about like long term, like if you got an ops manual or, you know, you've got people that work for you. It was none of that. It was just like, can we get someone to let us rent their house out? Literally, please, can we? And I remember that first client, who's still actually a friend of mine now. And that was in 2009, and she rented out a house to us, and that was property number 1 that we ever had. But we knew nothing. We had, well, you know, my business partner was amazing. She'd been an estate agent for quite a few years, and she taught me the ropes. I was financial advisor, came into it, and I was like, I know I can do a better job, but I don't know the nuts and bolts of what it is. And she brought that side to it, which was just, you know, I couldn't have done it on my own, to be honest. So it was a great start, but I think neither of us thought that we would end up with this bigger animal that would still be going this long.
Okay, so let's just pause there for a minute, because, like, you know, for most people the journey maybe starts something like that, and there's desperation but also a little bit of excitement. You know, you get, like you say, you get the first let, and we're away, and then maybe there's a second one, and then all of a sudden, like, you know, after a certain period of time, maybe let's say 2 or 3 years, you've started to realize you can get lets and maybe sales. Were you doing, how long did it take to get into sales?
So immediately.
Right.
So, well, not immediately, kind of within the first, that we'd got our first sales fee in the first 6 months. So that was done completion.
And that's all
so,
exciting. Right? And that's great.
That was been there. Someone's instructed us.
Yeah.
Jeez, I was like, wow, this felt like my birthday.
All the way through to exchange, and you actually get paid. And then somewhere along the line, the excitement starts to drift, and you start thinking, like, what we're going to do now? So what happened there? When did that happen?
I think what happens is you start to turn over more money, but that means that you've got more clients, and that means that it brings holes where your structure is. So if you've got no structure, you can kind of see that. Then you bring people in and you just want to put someone in because you don't, so you're employing the wrong people. So that's kind of a bit of a problem in itself. So, and then they don't do things how you want them done. And then you're into this thing where you're earning more money, but actually you're not earning more money because your business is bigger and it costs more to run. So it just ends up, you're on this treadmill of how can we take this from where it is to something that we still enjoy doing and in the way that we want it done. And I'd never wanted a normal estate agents, and no disrespect to normal estate agents in my eye, it's just my perception of it, but I'd had terrible experiences with estate agency as a landlord and a home seller, and that was the one thing that I wanted to move away from. So I was always striving to create this brilliant service and this higher level of what we do, or just a different way of doing things. So
yeah, I guess that's a classic that's the classic story, isn't it? Like when you first start the company, there's a number that you think, if we ever got to that turnover, God, we would just be laughing, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
And you get there and exceed it and think, well, what's gone wrong here? Because this seems worse than when we just did that.
And we've got no more money. Like literally, we've got no more money. I'm like, how are our bills that much money?
How are we bringing in this much money every year and we haven't been paid?
Yeah. How is that even a thing? It's just like, yeah.
So you got to that stage, right? You're now 10 years in.
Yeah, it was probably 8 years.
It was probably about 8 years, actually thinking about it. If you started 2009, so you're about 8 years in.
Yeah.
I think I met you. I think I went and spoke at one of Sam Ashdown's events.
You did?
And I think that's maybe where I met you.
Yeah, but I'd already seen you on YouTube.
Right.
And I'd been sending my business partner videos of you on YouTube
what
at
sort
night.
Of videos? I thought I deleted those ones.
Before OnlyFans. but you were saying stuff that really triggered me into like, that's what I need. I can't even, like, I'm sorry, I really can't remember what those videos were. I don't know if you remember what you were recording and putting out then, but it was to me, you were just saying something different. And I was like, I don't know who this guy is, but he's saying stuff that really sits with me. It really resonated. And I was like, I'm really aligned. I need to kind of have a conversation and see. I didn't even know what you did.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know what I do now, to be honest. But like, so we met there, and I'm just trying to I'm just thinking to myself, you must have already been in this mindset of like, something's going to have to change here, because otherwise you wouldn't have been at Sam's events, right?
Yeah, so. And I'm in that permanent evolution. Even now, I look for different all the time. So Sam was great. I learned absolutely loads from Sam as well. And I've learned from lots of different people as we've moved on. But it was all about, how can I take every facet of this customer journey? And again, you were talking about customer journeys. And at that time, people weren't talking about that. And that's massive. If you look at the touch points of when people have bad experiences, what's going wrong? And in estate agency, 9 times out of 10, it's communication.
Yeah. Aside
from anything else.
It's funny, isn't it? Because you're right. I mean, I can remember, when I was talking about that stuff back in 2016, 17, like no one was talking about that.
No.
And even now, it's still difficult, I think, for many people to really grasp what you're talking about when you say customer journey.
Because if it's not broken, don't fix it. And that's what you hear all the time in this industry. Well, people will buy a house anyway. People will sell a house anyway. If they have
the bar's low.
Yeah, if they have a shit experience, who cares?
Yeah, absolutely. But even when someone says, oh yeah, communication is just a part of a customer journey. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't solve the customer journey. It's like, do you know what I mean? It's like, that's the bit that people... Actually, have you ever sat down and thought about the journey every single step of the way? Like, what makes them
it's a rabbit hole
smiling, right?
Yeah,
and we ended up getting into that conversation, didn't we?
We did,
pretty much as soon as we sat down and spoke seriously about where your business was. Was that? Do you think that was a moment whereby you could start to see? Like someone was shining a light on what was actually going on.
Yeah, because I knew things that needed to change. I didn't know how to do it, and you did. And you were like, oh, well, it's this. And everything you said, I was a bit like, fangirling because it was a bit like, well, this is what you're saying. And that's what I have in my head. I can't get it out. I don't know what that is. And then I've realised it's customer journeys.
Yeah.
And it's that experience that the customers have with you from day one, and you want them forever. And that's the other thing as well, is like, I think in this industry, a lot of things are seen to be transactional. And it's like, I have clients that have been with me from 2009 and they're still there. And it's like, I'm their agent.
Yeah.
They have a problem. They live in Oxford now. They ring me. They go, oh, I'm trying to buy a house and this is happening. And I'm straight away on whatever software I've got, looking it up on portals, looking at house values for them. And I'm their agent. They have my mobile number.
Yeah.
And that's the person I want to be for them, for everybody.
That's awesome. So, okay. So we start talking and, I don't know, maybe you could speak to other people as well. But either way, around about that sort of time, you and your business partner start thinking like, okay, we should make a change in the way that we do this. I can remember seeing photos of you guys starting to map out customer journeys on walls, with post-it notes and all of that kind of stuff.
Still got the blue tap marks.
Right, there you go. So, and that, I'm imagining, wasn't something that you'd ever done previously. You and your partner, you end up going in your own directions with it. So let's focus then just on yourself and from there to today. So let's fast forward to today. How does the business feel different today to how it felt then?
The structure is there and the delivery is there, and I have a team that deliver how I want it delivered. And it's in this market right now, it's really good for me because I give feedback reports every week. They get a report and a phone call, and it's like, pathetic as that sounds, it's like most agents at the moment are scared to ring clients because they've got nothing to tell them. And it's like, make something to tell them. You're the expert, you find a way. But my team are doing that. I'm not there. They're still doing it. I don't need to be there. They're doing it.
And that all came out of customer journeys, right?
It's all out of customer journeys. What experience would you want if you were the client? What frustrates you? Fix it.
And what about your feelings towards the business now? You get more time off. Like how is it like in terms of?
I take time off. I mean, I've just actually brought in another letting agency, so it's just like that's been a little bit busy for me over the last couple of weeks. So I'm just kind of bringing that through. So I've been really kind of neck deep in it, but I've take 2-week holidays and go away and turn my phone off.
That would have been impossible.
Impossible, yeah. And it's just like, but they all know their role and they all have a job and they all know pretty much 99% of the time what I would do because because it's down there and it's in the journey, and that's how the customers are delivered.
And just to clarify for people that don't know you or know your brand, like someone might now be picturing like, oh well, it's all right if you've got like 50 staff or whatever. Like we're still talking about a small business, right?
A 3-person sales team and a 3-person lettings team.
And it can operate when you can just turn your phone off for 2 weeks and go on holiday, and it will just run.
It still runs. Yeah, they all know this is the journey. This is what happens. This is what day the reports are done. This is what's sent out when a house is taken on. They get sent this. This is done. That's done. And it just rolls.
Okay, so now I want to rewind again.
Yeah.
Because I remember when we first had conversations about having a company that worked like that.
Yeah. That
conversation is incredibly overwhelming for somebody.
Yeah.
Because you start talking about, well, you're going to need to change this and you're going to need to change that.
Yeah.
But, I can remember at the time saying, but look, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Don't worry, don't feel overwhelmed, just do this bit to start with.
And I think that's actually a really important point, is because if you look at the end bit, you're never going to get there because it is so overwhelming. And even now, I change stuff all the time. I mean, I've had to really rein myself in because the way I bring people into the team, they can't all be like me because the team wouldn't run that way. So they're very different personality to me. So I have to, when I want to make changes, I now don't tell people that I want to make them and I sit with them for a while until I want to bring them in. But those changes, we're always looking for the next evolution, and I invite the team to make those changes as well. If you see something can run better, then let's do it better. That's
quite a hard thing to learn, isn't it? Because it's easy to say that.
Yeah.
It's easy to say like, oh, why don't you just let your, this person does all the viewings, why don't you let them decide how a good viewing works? And people go like, oh yeah, I'd love it if they did that. But then the person suggests and they go like, well, no, I don't agree.
Yeah. And that was a really hard thing for me. And I realised and it's part of my personality. I'm quite a dominant person, so and I do recognise that in myself, and I'm very aware of it. So now, if I give someone something to do, I know in myself that I can't then, if I haven't fully trained them on it, I haven't told them to the letter how I want it done, I have to give them that bit of autonomy to do it, and they are going to do it differently to me. But actually, what's surprising is sometimes they do it better.
Yeah, well,
and I love that.
And that's, that's just learning that what you think is that your version is better it's just your opinion. Like, there's not an actual rule somewhere that says your version is better. It's just an opinion, right? Like Rob was telling me when we was talking before we started filming, Rob was telling me that he was working with this agent who wanted to change some of the images on their market appraisal report. And he was like, yeah, okay, just let me know and you'll get it all sorted out. And a week went by and a month went by and 6 months went by. And then the valuer was having a call with Rob, and they said about changing some of the images on the market appraisal report. And Rob said like, oh, go for it. And like, they just did it. And then the owner came back and said, I see some of these have changed, but I'm not sure about some of those images. And Rob and I was saying like, your images don't exist. You haven't done fuck all with it. Like 8 months ago, you said you wanted to change the images.
100%.
This person's actually done it, and this person's actually doing the valuations as well.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, yeah, okay, fair enough. Go with it then. So it's just switching that mindset, isn't it? It's like you don't need your fingers in everything.
Do you know what was the massive thing for me? About 18 months ago, people don't ring the office and ask for me anymore.
Wow. That must be difficult and great, I guess.
It was surprisingly not difficult. I really love it because I can do other things, so I can focus on the structure and the journey. And if I want to change something on the journey or have the team meetings and do that, the team have one-to-ones every month, which has been I've never been able to do that before.
That's crazy when I think back to where we were, because I can remember talking to you about some of this stuff and it just being so far away.
It didn't exist. I couldn't even visualize it. It was so remote. And I don't ever celebrate the wins, but actually when I look at the business that I have and the structure that I've got and the people that are in the team and the customers rave about them and they love them and they don't ring for me, they love the team as much as they ever loved me, probably more because they're better at what they do and they respond better than I do. That actually it's just amazing. And I just, I'm really blessed to be working with the team that I do. So
okay, so now let's think about some of the milestones in your mind that changed, some of the things that happened, like from Laura, who was saying, I've had enough of this, and I know what you're saying, Mark, but it's not possible to charge more than £1,000 in our area. That Laura, to the one where I'm sitting here today, whereby you're charging the type of fees that you want to charge, you're doing the work that you want to do, the company's running like a machine.
Yeah.
You're able to, work on the things that you want to do. What's some of the big things that changed, that had to change? Some of the things that you think really
totally mindset and preparing to walk away from clients that aren't a fit. And I think once you make that decision in your mind and you train your team in the same way, they get it.
But let's think about that again for a minute then, because if when we first met, if I had just said that, you would have said to me, yeah, but that's all very well, but I have to be able to pay the bills and I can barely do that as it is.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to just walk away from it.
No, and I totally get that. And I've been on a massive self-development journey over this period of time as well. And I think when you realise that people will pay for a service that you deliver, but you have to deliver. Yeah. And that's the difference. If you don't deliver, don't charge them the money. Don't think as an agent that you'll be charging 1.5%, 2%, and yet your service is rubbish. Yeah, average at best. Don't be doing it. Like, you should be charging 0.9% or 0.75. That's what you should be doing. If you've not got good sales progression. If your team aren't trained to negotiate, if you're not going to add value to them, then don't charge them anymore. And volume agents are fine if people want disposal, or you want a quick turnover and you're transactional, fine. But be honest with people. Don't pretend you're something that you're not. And that's okay too.
Yeah.
But if you want to charge more money, deliver more to them. Don't be charging more money and going, well, no one wants to pay it. I was like, this is what I can do. So actually how I started was I got a couple of clients who had a bit of confidence in me. And I was like, can I play about with your house with the sale of it? And they were like, yeah, sure. So I put it on, ran it through a process that I had in my head, and I'm going to see if this works. And I got them kind of 15% over market. And then I started using those as case studies. Right, they did a video, they did a testimonial. I've got obviously the stats from that house. And I was like, look, if you want to use me, this is what I'm doing. And now I have like tens of hundreds of them who are like, I've even sold for my best sale so far has been 33% over market.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And the most amount of money is 90 grand, which was a 20% over. But you're looking at 450 grand houses. I'm not selling £1 million houses.
No.
And that's the thing. It's like people go, oh yeah, I've sold houses and got 90k over. But it was my sales team and the process that we put them through that got that 90k. The seller is trying to take offers at 10k over.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, we're not done. Let's just let me do the process. And they had the faith in me to do that. And it was a choice between me or Purple Bricks. Their faith in estate agents was so low.
Yeah. They're going to do most of it themselves.
So it's either you, and they knew every agent in the town, and they were like, it's either, so we've got it down to, we're going to go with Purple Bricks. We've got you in because someone's told us to have a conversation. What are you going to do? So.
That's crazy. So the thing that I love about that is, first of all, the passion that I can hear about, the conviction you've got around the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's not look, if you say A, B, C, and D, this person will pay extra. It's like, you don't need a script. You're just going to tell them how it is from your heart. This is the way it works.
Yeah.
Obviously, there was a point where, like you say, you had to try and construct that. You had to get a few people to let you have some free reign, and you didn't really know what the method was. Yeah. But you knew that you were trying to move towards a method.
Yeah.
And one of the key things there, I think, that I've heard from lots of agents, and I've had the conversation with lots of agents as well, we probably had it, was it doesn't have to be that. It has to be something. Yeah. Because most people in this industry, and probably in many industries, I guess, struggle to find, they just can't think of, but what is the thing that's different? When I really break it down, I'm not that different. I am just a dentist, or I am just an estate agent, or I am just and if that's as far as you're going to take it, then you are going to be in with the masses of other people, aren't you? Yeah. But you're going to have to, if you want to step out of that, like you say, there's got to be a reason why would I go with Love Property at 1.5% when I can go at Purple Bricks at 995 quid? There's going to have to be a reason. Yeah. Not everybody's going to buy into it, but there's got to be one. Yeah. You ended up nailing your kind of who you're there for. Yeah. And then I guess you've got that transition over from, look, we just need stuff on the market. Yeah. And people around you possibly saying, like, I know you don't want to do it for less than 1.5%, Laura, but we need instructions. Yeah. And you go in, I know, but I'm not doing it for less than 1.5. Yeah. There's a awkward period there, I guess. And then when you come out the other side of that and you realise that you can do less work for more money, when I say less work, I mean you're delegating a lot of the work. I mean you personally can do less work. Me personally, I do a lot less work than I used to do. I don't have the phones. I don't. Right. Yeah, I've been on so a few holidays. I'm not saying you'll do less for the customer. You'll just do less sort of running around like a headless chicken.
As part of that, I've had to bring people in and get them to do what I do. Yeah, and it's like that was tough.
Yeah. I'm guessing it's not great to bring anyone in who's got a lot of other estate agency experience, maybe.
No, there's only one on my team who's been previous estate agency, and that's the head of the lettings team, and she's 30 years estate agency.
Yeah, that's quite process driven, isn't it?
100%. And to be honest, it's invaluable, her experience in that level, but it's also an impediment in a lot of ways to when you're dealing with a evolutionary company, it's very difficult sometimes to overcome. Actually, we don't have to do it that way, just because that's how it's always been done.
That is probably one of the hardest things to overcome, isn't it? Because 100%. When we were talking about it in the beginning, well, this is the way it works. You open an estate agency, you do some advertising, or however you get some listings, you go and do a valuation, you put it on a portal, you do the viewings, you do the sales progression, you move on to the next one. And I'm sitting there talking to you about customer journey and core values and all this stuff. It's just like, what are you going on about?
And people are like, I can't tell my seller that it won't go on the market for 2 weeks. And I'm like, my houses don't go on until the marketing's right. My sellers don't do their own viewings. If my sellers want to do their own viewings, they're not my seller and they can't work with me. And that's non-negotiable. And I tell them that. In fact, when they ring up now, if someone rings up for a valuation, we ask them a few questions, and then we say, we just need to let you know our fees are X, Y, and Z. We need to let you know that, because there's no point, we're sure you're busy and we're busy too, and there's no point in us having that conversation in your house and wasting your time and hours. So we tell them it over the phone. We don't even go out. So if they're not prepared to do that, then that's it. We charge an upfront payment. If they're not prepared to pay that, they don't come on the market with us. I want committed sellers. I don't want people who are going to mess around. So we know already before we even go out, like, don't fuck it up when you get there, because the hard bit's already been done.
Okay, so that leads me on to another piece that I want to talk about then. When we first started talking back in 2016, 17, whenever it was, you said you couldn't remember what the content was at the time, but it was appealing. And I imagine I was probably doing a lot of stuff at the time, like educating people around how the whole nurturing 7-11-4 works, like, reach people, convince people before you go on a valuation to use your business, and you won't have to argue about the fees, right?
And the reality of it is, Mark, I'm only just kind of doing that in the last 2 years.
Right. And it works, right?
Yeah, it does.
But it's just amazing, because that's like come full circle then to like,
it's taking me this long.
You're able to sit and say that to somebody on a phone call.
Yeah.
Because they want you on a valuation. They don't want an estate agent.
They want us.
They want you on a valuation. So now I can put certain things in place, and they're going to say, yes. I just want.
If somebody says, if we go out on a valuation and they say, by the way, we're not getting anyone else out, do you think we need to? And I said, if I were you, I would, because I don't think that instructing someone. And I said, and something else you need to know is that we charge more than other estate agents. So if you want that kind of service or a different kind of service to what we offer, you could pay less money. And I would hate for you to realise later on that actually you could have got an estate agency service for less money. So I just want to be really open and honest with you. And to be honest, I don't think I've ever had anyone. I said this to a guy the other day, and he had another agent coming out in a couple of days, and he said, I'll just get that valuation done. And I said, 100% is what I would do. And he said, and he came to the office the next day and he said, where do I sign? And I said, I thought you were having another valuation tomorrow. And he said, to be honest, I don't care for the less money. I want what you do.
That's it.
Yeah.
And that's the bit that I think is hard for Laura 8 years ago to think is ever going to be something that happens, isn't it?
I think as well, because I work in an area where the average house price is 250 grand.
Yeah.
And there's very, no disrespect to anyone from the north, but tight Yorkshire people. I'm northern. I was born in the north. My family's all from there. But at the same time, people don't like parting with money. They just don't. I remember
you saying to me, you don't know what it's like in our area, Mark. You cannot charge more than this amount of money. People just will not pay it.
And to be fair, most of my best buyers are not from the local area.
That's another strategy.
Yeah, it is.
But still, like, that whole concept of these people have got to want to use your company before you somehow wangle the opportunity for a valuer to walk through the door, like, to a person that doesn't even know they're coming. Like, that's not going to go well, is it?
No.
If you did that, you're not going to be able to go, or just to let you know, we charge this, shall
Yeah.
we bother with the valuation?
Yeah.
People are going to go, no, don't bother with the valuation, actually.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I think you're quite rude.
Yeah.
But if it's the other way around,
Yeah.
you know, they've seen some stuff, they've been nurtured, if you want to call
Yeah,
it
yeah.
that, you've had some communication
Yeah.
with them, they're aware of the brand and all of that sort of thing, and then they think to themselves, we should get these guys
Yeah.
out, then you're allowed to put certain
Yeah.
things in place, right?
Yeah. And it's important, I think. But we do the same in lettings, and lettings is a big one because a lot of people say, oh, you can't charge this amount of money and landlords don't want to pay anything. And I'm like, landlords don't want to pay anything if they're not getting anything back.
Yeah.
But a lot of landlords are busy people who just want to trust that you're doing the right thing. They don't want to think that you're mates with Joe the gas man and you're charging them, having their eyes out every 10 minutes. If you do a genuine job, my landlords are paying us a really decent amount of money.
Yeah.
And you know, these are not high value houses.
I think most people don't have a problem with paying for things if they feel like they're
100%.
going to get something out of it. If you
Yeah.
if I say, look, here's a glass of water, tap water, it's £2. Here's a glass of tap water, it's 30p. I'll probably go with the 30p one.
Yeah, because you're getting the same thing.
But like, you know, if one of them's in a nice bottle and it comes from a special spring in France and it's more healthy for me, then I'll probably pay for the £1 for the other one. So you can't just say, well, right, we're just going to raise our fees.
No, you can't.
There's a whole process around that.
And I think this is a problem. I think some people want to raise their fees and don't raise their standards, and it doesn't work out. And that is a problem, not for me, because you know we get residual business from these companies. But at the same time, I think don't complain.
No,
about
you can't just say, look,
No.
guys, it's time to raise our fee.
Yeah.
I see so many people online asking questions about does anyone got any alternatives to being able to list on Rightmove? Does anyone know the cheapest CRM out there? Does anyone know like how I can do this for free and that for free? And at the same time, I want to raise my fees.
Yeah.
It's like, really?
Yeah.
Like, you want everything for nothing,
Yeah.
and you want to charge more.
Well, I have a photographer. I don't even own a camera. So we have a photographer who photographs every rental, every sale property, and he's an outsource, you know, but I wouldn't even dream of it because I know I'm doing my clients a disservice because I know that I cannot take photos like he does.
Because you can do something else, but you're not a photographer, right?
I'm not a photographer.
It is really interesting because I've been talking to a lot of people recently, and I've just sort of started to realise that what many businesses don't know, and perhaps this maybe sums it up back 8 years ago, is everything is downstream of generating leads and nurturing them. Everything. Right. Without that, or everything else you've said doesn't work.
No.
You know, you can have a customer journey, but if you ain't got no customers, like it's not going to work. You can have core values and get the right staff, but if you ain't got nobody to deal with, you can tell people that you're going to charge higher fees, but if they haven't bought into you, then it's not going to make any difference. A lot of people decide to have a think about it after evaluation. They need to continue being nurtured. They're not there yet. They're still on the football field. They haven't made it to the end zone yet, right? So I'm just starting to realize myself that what a lot of companies don't really realize is that, like I say, everything is downstream of lead generation and nurturing. You put lead generation and nurturing into your business, combine that with, you know, something that tells you when those people are at certain stages, and life gets easier suddenly. You know, you can start talking to people that actually want to have a conversation with you, and then you can create customer journeys for that particular type of person. You can delegate the work to people that can do it better than you. You can spend time thinking about the business, and you can actually start to quantify how much you charge for what you're supplying to those people. So crazy. It sounds so simple when you're on the other side of it, right? Yeah,
and the thing is, you don't need to work for everybody. And that's the thing that a lot of people really struggle to let go of. It's like, if a client's not a fit, just walk, you know, especially if you work on the model that I work on, where it's like, I know my sellers. I know if I go to a house and the position that they're in and the kind of house it is, I know if they're going to want to work with me, because if they want to, you know, see the emotional value that they've contributed to that house, they want to see that back financially, they have to use me. There is no option where we are. So it's like, if you want that kind of result, you've got one choice. So, you know, but also on the same understanding, if people are just like very fee orientated and they're just more about like, well, this is just going to sell anyway, this is just not going to work. Or that I don't like how you write in the brochures, which is a bit crazy to be honest, but it's just something that I like to do, and so.
I love that. Okay, so if anybody's listening to this and they're thinking to themselves like, oh my God, I'd love to ask Laura this, or, this sounds brilliant, I need to find out this information. Is it all right for them to like reach out to you on social? 100%. What's the best place for them to
just whatever. Yeah, drop me a
Facebook,
Instagram, Facebook, whatever. Ring the shop. I'm happy for people to. I've had agents come up and see me. Come and see my shop's a bit crazy as well, to be honest, because I took all the properties out the windows. I don't have properties in the windows anyway. I don't know. I wonder. That was probably 7 years ago, and I've just done it.
I should have just taken some shares in your company at the time, shouldn't I?
Do you know what? You probably should have done. In August last year, I took every property out the window. It's now full of, so like I've got a friend who's a stylist, like interior designer, and she comes along and she's just done an autumn style, so she's made a big rose on one window looks like a lounge, and another window's we've hung a pink front door in it. Wow. She puts wellies by it for and in the summer it had all like a little garden party out. And
I was about to wrap up the show, but I just want to dig into that for a second, because there's a lot of people out there that would make that their first move, if you know what I mean. Like, if we can make a really cool window display, everybody will love us, and then they just inside just carries on as normal, doesn't it? It's like it's more holistic than that, isn't it? This is kind of about...
And it's about where your team work as well, because I think you've got to think about the environment. You were demonstrating something to the people you're working with. They have to live it. Yeah. Our core values are stuck on every wall, everywhere. People we have a meeting on a Monday morning with what core value have you championed this week? How have you championed it? What could have gone better? Yeah. And that's kind of the conversation that we have. So it's about, and when people walk into our office and there's massive sofas in there and it smells of whatever that stuff is that I'm obsessed with, and it's just nice. I mean, all the teamwork off dining room tables, there's no desks in our office now. I got rid of all them.
But that's all come... it's so hard to explain, isn't it? Because like I say, if I go back to those first meetings,
I wish it could have been like almost documented, because it's such a change.
It begins with the core of your customer journey. Yeah. Who are you there for? What do you exist for? Yeah. That's the more important bit to start with, isn't it? And
100%.
What you're doing there is like the sprinklings of like, what really would represent us? These things.
Well, I was saying to my daughters, do you know what? It really annoys me that people think we're the same as every other agent. And both my daughters said the same thing, but Mum, you look the same as every other agent. And I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. So I went to a brand designer who's never worked with an estate agent. Yeah. And she rebranded us. And then she had a concept for the shop. My friend who's an interior designer, she came in and interior designed it along with that branding. And they'd emptied my head out. And I was like, do you know what? Every step of it, I didn't change a thing. She was like, I want to paint it this colour. I was like, Laura, shut up. You're not the expert in this. You want people to trust you as the expert when selling your home. You bring in people in, trust them. Yeah. And that's what I did. And the result is phenomenal. Way better than anything I could have done.
Love it. Okay. Thanks very much for coming in.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to this Estate Agency X podcast. Can you make sure that you're actually subscribed to this podcast channel if you liked the content? It helps us massively to get better guests, and it just helps us generally. So you might think you're subscribed, but just have a double check, whatever your podcast platform of preference is, that you're actually subscribed, and then that way we can continue to grow the channel and get better and better guests for you.